So yeah, you can see there, very interestingly, how Prabhupada was struggling right in the beginning. And there's this black and white thing, scenes, and there's these interviews, and I remember at the end of the movie, my mother, who was very against me joining, I was the eldest of four, and I was at uni and all that, and she had all the expectations on me, bought me a brand new Toyota Hilux that just came out that year, I think, 81 or something. And she was very against me joining, and for years she had this attitude, very negative attitude. At the end of the movie, she was really moved by Prabhupada's story, that he had struggled so much, and here is this old man, nearly 80 years old or so, 70 years old, right? At that time when he arrived. And then, the last scenes of that movie, there are different parts of the world presented there. And the common thing is that there are many young people chanting and dancing and singing in all these kirtan melas and different parts of the world. It's just like a festival of joy, like that. So I think that for her, later on we were discussing, was the fact that Prabhupada was such a powerful person that just like a magnet attracted everyone. Everyone was happily following him, just like when things started in 1966. But the question is, especially for us who are trying to practice, trying to follow Prabhupada, is what is this matchless gift? What is this gift that in this instance, in this verse, Karama Muni is giving to his wife, to Devahuti? Right? It's very important. This is a wonderful, I heard a couple of classes, one by Hari Vilas Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple, and he was there. He was there in those times. He was one of the pioneers. I think he started in France with Bhagavan Prabhu and Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So the essence of this purport is that Srila Prabhupada is presenting what he came to give. Because if you happen to be, and I had the opportunity to go to the matchless gift and be standing there, and it's a small, tiny kind of room, a storefront in New York. And I was standing there with my son, and we were not saying much, but I know that in his mind, we were just reeling all the thoughts and memories and things that we have heard and all those clips that one may have seen. It happened right there. Prabhupada walking in and out, and the devotees, that famous one when Brahmananda Prabhu and the others are going on Harinam, and somebody's carrying a big I don't know how you call those big ones for the orchestra, you go parades, yeah? Cymbals, but gigantic, They have a drum. It's like a movie, right? Like you have to pay people to, it was just a transcendental movie, and Prabhupada was directing everything like that, so nice. And then you see other scenes of that time, and the devotees dancing and all that, yeah? So the question is, if we're entering into this magnificent storefront, and you see matchless gift, the question is, what is the matchless gift, right? What is that these people are advertising? Right? So Prabhupada explains the matchless gift in this purport. Very interesting. Of course, we are always limited by time. This is the age, the era of no time. But a few interesting words, and And for those of us who are limited in our Sanskrit pronunciation and remembering and understanding, I always use the technique of one word. Prabhupada used the one word. At least remember one word, right? So in all of the verses that we read, at least let's try to identify some words that are easy or that are usually repeated in the Shastra, right? And interestingly, the first word of this verse is anye. And I had prepared a whole thing about some of the words. So when I came, as always Krishna plays some trick, I was perplexed because there was a different verse. So then I realized somebody had committed a mistake and written the verse for next Monday, not this Monday. But anyway, so Prabhu kindly wrote it all again. Otherwise, it would have ruined my little preparation here. So the first word is anye. And anye means, like it's translated here, others. And when Rupa Goswami defined pure devotional service, the main verse that he uses, and Srila Prabhupada uses that in the Nectar of Devotion, it's anya vilasita sunyam. And anya means others, right? And it's kind of in the same context that Karama Muni is using that word. Anye punara bhagavato bruba udrijimba. What is the use? What is the point of other things, of other enjoyments, we may say, of other desires? Anya vilasita sunyam. Any other desire we have to eradicate. Anya vilasitam. If we want the matchless gift, that's the matchless gift. We have to give up all the other gifts, shall we say. This is matchless. What does matchless mean? Cannot be compared. That's what matchless means, right? That's the literal definition of it, matchless. So anye is a very important word. So we can sort of take certain words, if not the whole thing. I don't know if anybody is what's called a Srutidara. Srutidara in the old days, meaning really old days or ages, you wouldn't have to even memorize things or repeat things to remember, right? What generally happens, at least in my case, every time I hear the class, after maybe 15, 20 minutes, it's a struggle to remember what was the class about, right? So, at least we can remember certain words and identify certain concepts that are encapsulated in these words. For example, in the first line, as I said, anye, that's easy. In the context of the pure gift that Srila Prabhupada came to give us. In the second line, Bibram Siddhartha. Bibram Siddhartha. The word is artha. It's the first line, it's quite a long word, artha. Artha is one of the 4 objectives of the Vedic path. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That should be known for all the practitioners. Artha. Artha is a very interesting word. Very interesting word because we all are after artha. Everybody does something because of some result. Is that true? Everything that we do is because we want to achieve something. We work because we're going to get paid, right? Simple as that. That's just something that comes to mind because artha is generally translated as economic development, right? That's the common definition. Dharma, religiosity, artha, economic development, right? But it's not only that. There's more than that. It's what you want to achieve, like in chapter 8, Bhagavad Gita, attaining the Supreme. That's the artha. You're attaining that. You're catching that fruit, artha. So Prabhupada begins this wonderful purport saying that Lord Chaitanya recommended that the greatest achievement of human life is to achieve the grace of the Lord, love of God. Right? So Prabhupada is defining from the first line of this purport. This is what we're talking about. This is our goal. This is our aim. Pure love of God. That's what he came to give. And that is the matchless gift. Something that, according to the Vedic scriptures, according to the Bhakti scriptures, there's nothing else that compares to that. And basically, this concept is the topic of the Nectar of Devotion. Now, in the Bhakti Shastri course, we are ending the sections that we have to cover. And yesterday we had a very interesting festival. The devotees were giving exams, and the exam was different. They had to prepare PPT presentations or PowerPoint presentations, and somebody presented a game or a competition, and like that. So it was very interesting. And something that struck me is that three devotees repeated the same chapter. Different chapters, you could choose your chapter. And each one gave a different presentation about it. And it was relishing. The three of those, quoting the same past, the same verse, referring to the same pastime, and all of them was like fresh. It's like new, right? Because everyone gives its own flavor to it. Why? Because this matchless gift, pure love of Godhead, is not different from Krishna, basically. Krishna says in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he's talking to Uddhava, I'm not different from devotional service. So when you do devotional service in the pure consciousness, with pure consciousness, you are experiencing Krishna. Simple as that. And that's why we are here after so many years. Some of you, decades, if we start making numbers, there is a few hundreds of years of practice if we put everyone's time in the movement together. Would that be a right calculation? Yeah? A few hundreds, like that. Prabhupada disciples have, 50 years or so, and others, you add bits and pieces, and then we have a few hundreds of years of practice, trying to grab that fruit. This is not the forbidden fruit. Like sometimes in the Bible it's mentioned, the forbidden fruit. This is an open fruit. This is a matchless fruit, the matchless gift that Prabhupada came to give us. So he begins defining that. As you can tell, not that I'm avoiding, but I purposely didn't want to get into the social aspect of, okay, the wife has to do this and follow the husband almost blindly or something like that. I chose not to go that path because there's a lot of verses quite similar throughout these chapters, and many devotees already explain that, and what is it, Mother Vaishnavi last week I heard, and then Mother Ramburu also was giving class on Friday, like that, and the different swamis and others have explained about that. So then I thought, let's not only talk, sometimes when we hear Bhagavatam classes, we get a lot of geographical information, yeah?